Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are breaking down the New York Jets 2024 schedule. We're going to give our absolute worst case scenario when it comes to the record, and then their absolute ceiling at the end of the video. But before we get into that, if you have not already, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the Tracy Take, and also ring that bell to get notified when new videos come out. We have content that comes out every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And once when the season starts, we are going to be doing weekly prediction videos for all the Jets games that you're not going to want to miss. So like, subscribe, and also ring that bell to get notified. So Ryan, quickly before I think we go into the schedule and start breaking things down game by game, let's quickly recap what the Jets have improved on. I would say probably the number one thing is I think they've gotten healthy. Aaron Rodgers is now going to be starting. Hopefully longer than what he did last year. And that's going to be kind of honestly the overall theme when I think of their record as we'll get here is just because it's like we really don't. With a lot of other teams, you can say like rookie quarterback or there's some other key areas. But I'm going to be very curious how he ends up doing, bouncing back from the injury from last year. But in general, though, I think they've improved a little bit in the receiving position as well. They've brought on some other offensive linemen that I think are going to have a giant impact to their overall team, their overall offensive production as well. They did lose a little bit in the secondary. Some guys did move on, but they weren't the main guys, I will say. And I think guys that can fill up or that can step up to the occasion and be starting in the secondary. What do you think are some of the areas that the Jets improved on the most in this offseason?
Yeah, I like the skill position player moves that they made, going and getting Malachi Corley in the draft, getting Mike Williams. I believe did they trade for him? They trade like a 7th round pick, or did they actually just sign him in free agency? They signed him because the Chargers cut him.
Yeah, the Chargers cut him. Yeah.
And then Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis were two backs that I really liked in this draft. So going and getting those guys, I think on the offensive side of the ball were good moves. And then to me, I think this defense just kind of like swapped out pieces here and there. Like you look, Bryce Huff went to Philadelphia, but then they got Hassan Reddick from Philadelphia. So like they kind of just swapped out pieces like that on the defensive side of the ball. So I still think that defense should be top 10, top 5. Just because unless you're an elite defense, it kind of cycles just on matchups. But all in all, I think this Jets team, they should be pretty good. Like you mentioned, it's really just going to be if they can stay healthy throughout the season. Because you look, Tyron Smith struggled with injuries the last few seasons. Mike Williams struggled with injuries the last few seasons. Javon Kinlaw has struggled with injuries most of his career. So like
Tucker is another guy.
Yeah,
he struggled with injuries, and so that's where on paper, like they should have a good offensive line, but you're right, like health is going to be a big concern all around, and they're in the most win now mode. That's where they're signing these veteran offensive linemen who are proven. They have obviously Aaron Rodgers is the most win now move, and so I hope he can stay healthy because I know people have a lot of opinions on him, but I think he's still good for the game when he's on the field. It seems like the NFL product's better, especially too with all the primetime games that they have. We're going to get into the primetime games here. I think they have 6 in the first. They have 7 in the first 11 weeks. And so, the NFL's like, you owe us a lot. So you better stay healthy because it was tough. It was tough watching these Jets games. And I think Zach Wilson is happy. I think everybody's happy, all parties involved, that he is no longer there just because it was just a lot. And it was tough to see, if being completely honest. So, but I agree, though. I think just improvement of the offensive line, I think they've also added some more weapons as well. Which is going to help out. It'll be interesting to see how everything pieces together when it comes to their offense and how Aaron Rodgers is able to kind of really just manufacture these drives, like just kind of like how he was in Cleveland, because never really got to see him and Garrett Wilson, really kind of develop that relationship. And obviously then we're recording this now, I think the day after they had a little spat on the training camp field. But you know what? Hey, that's expected. I kind of want to see that. I want to see them figuring it out. As of right now, it didn't seem like it was anything too crazy, but they were in a disagreement, so they're trying to figure it out. I think that's only going to keep improving that relationship because Garrett Wilson, I think he's one of those skill position player guys that has just been in an unfortunate situation on who's been throwing him the ball. So really want to see him do extremely well, especially too when they play your Patriots. But I might be the single party candidate in that opinion here. So let's get into their schedule here, and I find it ironic. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it's like whenever the U.S. national soccer team plays in San Francisco, they complain about the field. So I don't know if they bring in natural grass. It's turf field. I need to go look that up. But I find it ironic that Rodgers' first game back is going to be at San Francisco on Monday Night Football, where if what I'm remembering is correct, is not a good field and guys don't like it. But I could absolutely be wrong on that. It could just be a soccer thing, and so maybe it's different. But so week 1 at San Francisco, Monday Night Football. Week 2 at Tennessee. Week 3 hosting New England on Thursday Night Football. Week 4 hosting Denver. Week 5 technically hosting Minnesota in the UK, and then week 6 hosting Buffalo on Monday Night Football. I'll say it right. I think best case scenario, I think 5-1 for the Jets here. And this is the team that we think they can be. They'll win either San Francisco or Buffalo, and then they sweep the middle games, which I think is extremely possible.
Yeah.
And this is where then the floor is going to be interesting because we have no real understanding on how good Aaron Rodgers can be in this offense outside of maybe a little bit of preseason action from last year. So I think floor – I mean, I still think 3-3 is a floor. I mean, maybe somehow they lose one of the middle games and they lose both the San Francisco and Buffalo games.
Yeah, you're not going to convince me that they will lose more than 3 of these games. Even if let's say New England stuns them on Thursday Night Football, I think they should wallop Denver and Minnesota.
They should. Yeah.
And then they should beat Tennessee. San Francisco and Buffalo are tough games, but really realistically, you look at over the last 3 years since Robert Sala's been there, they've had Buffalo's number. So I think 3-3 is probably as low as they'll go.
Honestly, yeah, that's a fair point. They beat Buffalo last year on Monday Night Football Week 1 when Aaron Rodgers hurt his leg. So that was Week 1, and Josh Allen did not look like Josh Allen. And offense was not the Buffalo team. This will be in Week 6, but so I think 5-1 and 3-3 is a good little range here. Then Week 7 at Pittsburgh, Week 8 at New England, Week 9 hosting Houston, Thursday Night Football. Week 7 is Sunday Night Football, by the way. So that'll be 6 primetime games in 9 weeks. Week 10 at Arizona, Week 11 hosting Indy on Sunday Night Football. So that's your 7 primetime games in 11 weeks. That, I think, just their schedule is going to be wild. So they're going to be flying to San Francisco, then flying back, and then flying then to Nashville less than a week later, flying back, then playing New England less than a week later. Then Denver's a normal game. Then they're flying to London, and then they fly back, and they at least play Buffalo at home on Monday Night Football. But just a lot of travel time, just a lot of different, weird, unusual games. So it's going to be tough for them to get into a rhythm. In the middle 5-game stretch here, I mean, really, I think they can beat Pittsburgh. They can beat New England. They can beat Arizona. Could be in Indianapolis here. So I really think 4-1 is a ceiling.
Yeah.
And then as a floor, I will say I do think it's possible that they lose to a team like Arizona, and they lose to a team like Indy. I think 2-3 might be their floor.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just I also think at New England, I know this is a very different Jets team, but they don't win in New England a ton. At Pittsburgh is always a tough place to play, especially on prime time. That is a really good defense that's over there. Well, I'll say that's a really good pass rush that's over there. So I think 2-3 is probably a good floor there as well. And Week 12 bye, they're not going to lose that week. And then starting off with the last group of 6 games, hosting Seattle, at Miami, at Jacksonville, and then hosting the Rams at Buffalo, and then hosting Miami there. I mean, looking at these games, they could win. I guess they could win all of them. I would say the ceiling would probably be 5-1, and I'm circling the Rams game as probably a tough matchup. I don't know why that one in particular jumps out. I just think the Rams have the weapons to dice up that defense. But there's no easy game, but there's also no game that I'm looking at thinking they shouldn't win.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I think they're floor because I think they can lose to the Rams. I think they can lose to Buffalo. I think they'll lose. It's possible they lose to Miami at least once. I have a tough time seeing Miami going up into New York in January and winning that game. So that's why I think. But it's like Jacksonville, though, not giving them enough credit, and the same with Seattle. Like I think floor could be 2-4, and I think their ceiling could be 5-1. And so
I agree with that.
So I think that's going to be unique because their ceiling, technically based off the stretch that we gave them, is going to be 14-3. That seems a little out there. That would be crazy. I think that'd be comeback player of the year if Aaron Rodgers comes back and then leads them to 14-3.
He's probably going to win it anyways, but
probably so. Yeah. But then the floor, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 3-3, 2-4, and then 2-4 again. And so then that would be 7-10.
Yeah. And I could see that if Aaron Rodgers comes back. He's 41. We've only seen one quarterback ever have success after the age of 40. So that's not like out of the realm of possibility that he comes back and has just lost it.
And you're talking about Vinny Testaverde, right? He played into his 40s.
Yeah, but he played into his 40s. He didn't have success in his 40s.
I'm just joking. But and that would kind of fit too because our record predictions you had the Jets going 10-7, I had the Jets going 9-8, and so that would put our records kind of in the middle of that bell curve. At 14-3 is like best case scenario, the 1 out of 100 chance, and then same thing then with the 7-10. I do just even too as well with how crazy this team was last year. And everything that was going on, I think they still. I'm blanking on their record right now. But I think they still went like 7-10. I mean, they still picked outside the top 10. Like they still were able to manufacture.
Well, I think they were picked 10.
I think they were picked 10. Okay, yeah. But
because
that being said,
even Minnesota,
and then they did worst case scenario. They got Tyrod Taylor as their backup quarterback.
Yeah,
and how he played in New York when the Giants put him in there wasn't horrible. Like I think he can kind of manufacture this offense. Yeah, look. I think you and I can manufacture the offense better than Zach Wilson did. And so obviously being hyperbolic, but still. So I still think like worst case scenario, they're going to get to 7-10, 8-9, worst case scenario. But I think they're going to be buying for a wild card spot at minimum if they're not pushing for the division here. There's just so many unknowns just on how this whole team is going to interact. It's just going to interact and how Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to bounce back from this Achilles injury. Because as Jets fans know, if you don't have a quarterback, I mean, if the quarterback's not confident or capable, then there's going to be a clear effect on the entire team. That being said, though, it is Aaron Rodgers. I feel confident he's going to be there, and so he's going to be confident in his abilities and do whatever it takes to win. So, as I think at minimum, they're going to be kind of that middle of the road team, maybe pushing for a wild card spot. And then if you get Aaron Rodgers into the playoffs, who knows, man? I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch this year.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing is I just hope they stay healthy throughout the whole year because that is one of the few things that I think could really derail this team is just if they start getting that injury bug and guys start falling, they don't have the depth to keep up a high level of play. So that's my biggest thing, and because even as a Patriots fan, like. I really want to see this Aaron Rodgers experiment for a full 17 games. Like, how does it all pan out? So,
well, I was cracking up because we all just felt so bad for Zach Wilson because it's like everybody forgot about him. We're like, oh, the Jets are going to be really good, and then that happens.
Like 4 minutes in.
Yeah. So it was absolutely insane, and so then you just keep seeing it week in and week out, just getting demolished. You're like, I just feel bad for him and this whole team.
Yeah. I mean, but that is how football goes sometimes. I just hope we get to see it for a full 17 games. But let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Jets 2024 offseason. And also let us know what you think their floor and ceiling are. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.